Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a profoundly powerful story today. It's all about finding deep, world-shifting purpose in the absolute most ordinary of daily routines. Seriously, this narrative is going to force us to completely rethink what it means to be successful and how the tiniest little acts can ripple out in ways we can barely even comprehend. Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever met someone whose name you barely remembered, but whose simple kindness literally changed the trajectory of your day? Or, maybe even your life forever? We all pass by hundreds of people every single week, right? But it's super rare that someone leaves a permanent mark without us even realizing it at first. And that brings us straight to the center of our source material today, a man named Michael. Now, Michael was a total fixture in his town. He was the local mailman. You know the type. Someone everyone greeted with a polite nod, but almost nobody truly noticed on a deeper level. He kind of just blended right into the background of everyday life. But here's the thing. This unassuming guy was doing something extraordinary. It wasn't until much later that the entire town realized Michael was delivering way more than just paper letters and bills. He was, quite literally, delivering hope. Section 1. The Ordinary Envelope. Every single morning, long before most of the town was even awake, Michael's routine kicked off. At exactly 6 a.m., he unlocked the doors of the small post office. And by 6:15, he was meticulously sorting hundreds of letters, totally by hand. Now, for most folks, sorting mail is just a repetitive, kind of boring administrative task. But Michael, he approached it with this incredible level of dedication. Throughout the whole day, he treated every single piece of mail with deep, profound respect, all because he recognized something that most of us completely miss. And this brilliantly illustrates the core of his philosophy. Think about it. Most people see standard mail as just paper. Maybe some exciting news, maybe difficult news, or just a pile of junk mail. But Michael saw true deliveries. To him, these envelopes carried dreams just waiting to come true. They carried apologies, second chances, and hope. He wasn't just lugging dead weight in a canvas bag. He saw himself as holding the delicate threads of people's actual lives. In fact, while he worked in those quiet early morning hours, Michael had this personal mantra. He'd often just whisper to himself, "You never know which envelope will change someone's life." Just let that sink in for a second. By elevating the purpose behind what he was doing, he totally transformed an ordinary job into a vital, life-affirming mission. Section 2, the extra minute. So what really made Michael so incredibly special was his absolute refusal to rush. In a world completely obsessed with efficiency and speed, Michael just moved with intention. His daily route was filled with these little micro interactions. If he saw an elderly neighbor struggling with heavy groceries, he'd stop and help. If he was delivering what he knew were exam results to an anxious teenager, he wouldn't just shove it in the mailbox, he'd offer a reassuring smile. And most importantly, if someone just looked lonely, he stayed for one extra minute. He firmly believed that a single minute of genuine connection could stay in someone's memory forever. To really understand the depth of his commitment, we've got to talk about the story of the lost letter. One beautiful autumn afternoon, while cleaning up around the post office, Michael stumbled across an old, undelivered envelope. It had been trapped beneath a broken shelf for years. The letter was terribly late. Honestly, most people would have just tossed it in the trash, figuring the moment had totally passed. But not Michael. He made the choice to track down the address, which miraculously still existed, and deliver it anyway. When he arrived, an elderly woman opened the door, took the envelope, and instantly burst into tears. Inside was a handwritten apology from her younger brother, who, it turns out, had actually passed away years earlier. Looking right at Michael, she quietly whispered, "I spent 20 years believing he hated me." Because Michael took the time to deliver that dusty old envelope, a decades-long pain was instantly healed. Section 3. Delivering Through Storms. Let's look at the emotional storms first. There was this quiet teenager named Ryan who dreamed of being a writer. Every single week, he mailed stories to publishers, and, every week, the inevitable rejection letters would arrive. Michael noticed this cycle and saw exactly how discouraged the kid was getting. But he didn't just hand over the bad news. He delivered encouragement. And that specific encouragement kept Ryan going, literally all the way until his first novel was finally published. How did he do it? Well, it wasn't some long, drawn-out motivational speech. One morning, as he handed Ryan yet another rejection letter, Michael simply smiled and said, "Don't stop opening envelopes." That was it. 5 simple words, but it was exactly what that teenager needed to hear. In fact, at his book launch a year later, Ryan dedicated the very first page of his novel to the mailman who reminded him that hope often arrives in ordinary envelopes. But listen, Michael's dedication totally extended to physical storms, too. One spring, this devastating flood just ravaged the town. Roads completely disappeared beneath the water, the electricity failed, all modern communication basically stopped. It was incredibly dangerous and chaotic. Yet, despite the immense physical risk, Michael laced up his boots. He literally walked for hours through deep mud and freezing rain to deliver essential medical documents, emergency notices, and crucial family messages on foot. So the crucial point is why he did this. When people asked him why on earth he'd risk his own safety, why he'd risk everything during a natural disaster just to deliver the mail, his answer was profoundly simple. People don't stop needing hope during difficult times. When everything else broke down, Michael essentially became the physical embodiment of resilience and connection for his entire town. Section 4, the final delivery. 40 years. Let's just pause on that number for a second. 4 decades of early mornings, heavy bags, rain, snow, and sunshine. After 40 years of incredibly faithful service to his community, Michael finally reached retirement. And in true Michael fashion, he expected absolutely nothing more than a quiet, unnoticed exit. But the town? Yeah, they had other plans. Instead of a quiet goodbye, hundreds of people gathered outside that tiny post office. It was this massive cross-section of the whole community. Teachers, doctors, firefighters, local business owners, parents, kids, you name it. One by one, they stepped up to share stories about how this man had encouraged them with just a smile, a few gentle words, and his unwavering presence. In that moment, Michael realized that while he hadn't remembered every single face over those 40 years, they had all definitely remembered his kindness. But right before he walked out of those doors for the very last time, Michael did one last thing. He placed a single, sealed envelope inside his empty mailbag. When the new young mail carrier asked who it was for, Michael just smiled and said, "It's for whoever carries this bag after me." Inside was a handwritten note that read, "Never forget, people are waiting for more than mail. They're waiting for hope." The young carrier carefully folded that letter, put it in his pocket, and carried the legacy forward. Section 5, your bag to carry. You see, life gives every single one of us a different bag to carry. Michael carried a canvas bag full of envelopes. For you, well, you might carry tools for building, you might carry books as a student or a teacher, maybe you carry ideas into a corporate boardroom, or you carry the heavy, everyday responsibilities of raising a family. Whatever your work is, whatever your title happens to be, the big takeaway from this explainer is that you must always carry kindness right alongside it, because people will eventually forget your job title, but they will rarely, if ever, forget how you made them feel. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it completely challenges our modern worldview. We are constantly taught that standard success equals money, fame, and applause. But Michael's life forces us to look at a totally different standard: true success. True success is actually measured by the number of lives made genuinely brighter simply because you quietly, consistently showed up every single day. Seriously, never ever underestimate the staggering power of one kind word, one sincere smile, or taking that one extra minute for someone who really needs it. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap things up. What kind of message are you delivering with your daily actions? Are you just rushing through your routine, just blindly dropping off the metaphorical mail? Or are you delivering something much deeper? Are you really paying attention to the people around you? Because at the end of the day, sometimes the absolute greatest message you will ever deliver in this life is simply hope. If Michael's story inspired you today to rethink your own daily routine, make sure to subscribe to Gravonix Stories for more incredible motivation just like this. And hey, I want to hear from you. Drop down into the comments right now and type the phrase "small acts create big change." Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. Now get out there and deliver some hope of your own.